data interoperability, the seamless, secure, and controlled exchange of data between applications. And I want to pull one word out of that definition for data interoperability, and for me, the word that's most important to me there is seamless. And to me, that has to do with the standardization of the language that these programs are going to use to talk to each other, which is going to benefit myself as an instructor and the students at their level where they happen to be. And also, another aspect of data interoperability that I haven't really heard a lot about is that the parents benefit from this as well, because the parents, as the main stakeholders in their child's education, need access to this data as well, not just the students and the teachers.
Can you explain what issues or inefficiencies you face that could be solved by data interoperability in your school and in your district?
The biggest issue that I face is the lack of access to relevant information that gives a 360-degree view of student progress, of student needs, and especially, for me, of student history. The lack of historical data related to the standardized assessments that we take every single year and specific areas where growth is needed for each student, like that's a major challenge. I don't have enough specific information about each child, especially in terms of the history of where they're coming from. How did they do in third grade? How did they do in fourth grade? When they get to be in fifth grade, I need to know that information. So just a general lack of access to relevant information, that gives a complete view. Even student attendance, like I need student attendance information right next to my data that shows how much my students grew last year. Did they grow half a school year? Did they grow one school year? Did they grow a 2 school years? Some students do that. I need access to that information. Another issue that I have is lack of access to student technology. And that, to me, that limits how students understand and invest in their own learning, especially from a technical perspective. I've noticed with my fifth graders that technology is no longer just a part of their lives. It's completely integrated into their lives. And so the more I can get technology into the hands of my students, the more they're going to feel comfortable understanding data and understanding why data is relevant to them and understanding why data can help actually improve the instruction that I give them. Another thing, an inconsistency from year to year in terms of the different applications that we use for intervention and for monitoring student progress. I've taught in this district for 8 years, and every year there's a new intervention application that's introduced or a new student progress monitoring application that's introduced. And what I would like to see is a longer-term commitment to a specific platform that teachers can get used to, that students can get used to. More consistency is what we need.
So what's the benefit of data interoperability for students? I think you touched on it a little bit, but maybe a little more detail.
Yeah, I just think that they have, generally speaking, there's greater investment by the student in the learning process. Tracking their progress, for example, that's not just something that teachers should be doing, that teachers should be invested in. The data needs to be shared in a thoughtful and a responsible way with the students as well. And I think that the students will also understand their own challenges better if they have access to that data. They'll understand what areas of growth they have. If they can see, for instance, how being absent for 15 days during a 9-week grading period affects their outcomes on assessments and on their mastery of content standards. They need to see the cause and effect relationship that those things have. For me, I think the parents are an integral missing part of this whole data interoperability question because they're not invested. I've got parents emailing me telling me they can't access their students' grades online. Parents get turned off by the lack of data that they have on their students.
To what degree do teachers want all their students' data in one place? Have you heard from other teachers that they've been feeling the same thing?
Certainly, of course. There are many types of teachers out there. We're all different. We all have different philosophies and approaches, and the way that we present instruction to our students. Everyone has a different approach. And many types of teachers, they don't want to even deal with data, from what I've seen. And some just want to continue with traditional practices, such as teacher-led instruction, a lecture model of teaching. And if that's their firmly held belief, then data interoperability is never going to be important to them. I think that one role that teachers like myself, who understand the value of data interoperability and need to play is one of advocacy. Taking the data that I have that's actionable for my students and saying to other teachers, hey, look what we've done here. Look what this data is doing for my students. Look at how this is improving my instruction. Look at how this is, honestly, in the end, one motivator for people is, look at how this makes my life easier. Any kind of change takes time. That is why we need people like the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation and others advocating on a nationwide scale. But we also need teachers and parents in the classroom who are advocating for data interoperability on a local level as well.
What is your message to district leaders and vendors who can help make data interoperability a reality nationwide?
Yeah, I thought about this one a lot, and that's really the most important question, because that's where change is going to come from, is from district leaders and data vendors. It's not going to come from the individual classroom teacher who really believes in data interoperability and wants it for his students. I would say my message is that we need consistency in terms of the applications that we use for intervention, the applications that we use for standardized assessments, and we also need consistency in the vendors who provide them. And with that, hopefully, will come a common set of standards by which these applications can, talk back and forth to each other in a language that not only provides teachers and students, but I'm coming back to this again, parents understand and benefit from the data. The students in my school took a standardized test at the end of last school year. It was on paper, and it was called the 10 Ready, but the infrastructure, our technology infrastructure failed, so we couldn't do it. But the parents the kids are in 6th grade now, they still don't know how their child did on last year's standardized test. And to me, that's obviously unacceptable. So my message is, please give us some consistency